All right, today we're talking about strategy. We're going to dive into the essential tools leaders use to build winning game plans. But we're not just going to stop at the classics. We're going to explore how to actually upgrade them to get a real competitive edge, especially in the kind of chaotic world we're living in now. But first, let's start with a bit of a puzzle. I mean, think about it. We have more data, more fancy dashboards, and more analytical power at our fingertips than ever before in history. So, why do so many smart, well-funded companies still manage to fail so spectacularly? And that's the real paradox here. I mean, just think about Blockbuster. It's the classic example for a reason. They had all the data. They absolutely saw Netflix coming from a mile away. They did the analysis, but they just couldn't bring themselves to act. And that story, it points to a much deeper problem with how we actually use these powerful tools. And that problem, well, it has a name: analysis paralysis. This is the trap you fall into when the very work of doing the analysis becomes a kind of shield, a way to put off making the big, bold, maybe scary decisions you need to make to survive. You know, the process of planning starts to feel more important than actually winning. Okay, so to really get our heads around this paradox, we have to understand the tools themselves. So let's do a quick run through of the big three, the foundational toolkit that pretty much every business leader learns first. First up, of course, is SWOT. You've probably seen this a million times. It's that classic internal and external checkup. Your strengths and weaknesses are all about looking inward at what you control. And then opportunities and threats, that's about looking outward at the world around you. It's really the bridge between your company and your environment. Next is pest analysis. Think of this as your wide-angle lens. It's how you scan the whole macro environment for those big, uncontrollable waves. You know, things like new government regulations, huge shifts in culture, or a breakthrough technology like AI that could literally change everything for your business. And finally, you've got Porter's 5 forces. Now, this one is brilliant. It's basically a map of the power dynamics inside your specific industry. It shows you who holds the cards. Is it your rivals, your customers, your suppliers? And it really helps you understand just how profitable your industry can or can't be. So there's no doubt these tools are powerful. But here's the catch. They were mostly designed for a world that was a lot more stable and predictable than ours. And that leads to a really crucial question for any leader today. It really makes you wonder, right? In an era of nonstop change and constant disruption, are these frameworks still up to the job? Or are we basically trying to navigate a hurricane with a weather map from the 1980s? And the critique can be pretty harsh. I mean, this famous paper argued that when it's not done with real rigor, a SWOT analysis just becomes this lazy, unprioritized laundry list of stuff. It describes a situation, sure, but it doesn't actually diagnose anything. It becomes a list that, as the author said, often stands for nothing. So what do? Just throw these tools out? No, absolutely not. The answer is to upgrade them. We can give these classic tools the analytical power they need for today's world by combining them with a couple of more advanced university-level ideas. Okay, so the first upgrade is something called the resource-based view, or RBV. This is a game changer. It says that a true, lasting advantage doesn't come from your position in the market. It comes from your unique internal resources. It shifts the focus away from the outside world and forces you to look at what makes your company truly special on the inside. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because RBV is what gives a tool like SWOT some real teeth. A so-called strength on your SWOT chart only counts if it passes something called the VRIO test. Is it valuable? Is it rare? Is it hard to imitate? And is your company organized to actually capture its value? So, for example, a grocery store's friendly staff is valuable, yeah, but it's not rare or hard to imitate. But what about Loblaw's PC Optimum data? That passes the Rio test with flying colors. That is a true strategic asset. The second upgrade is an idea called dynamic capabilities. Now, this one directly tackles that problem of a world that won't stand still. It argues that competitive advantage today doesn't just come from what you have, your VRIO resources. It comes from your ability to change. It's not about how great your plan is. It's about how quickly you can adapt that plan. And this isn't a one-time thing, right? It breaks down into this constant cycle of 3 actions. You use tools like PEST and Porter's 5 forces to sense changes in the environment. Then you use your VRIO analysis to figure out the unique strengths you can use to seize that opportunity. And finally, and this is always the hardest part, you have to reconfigure your entire organization to win in that new reality. Okay, that's a lot of theory, so let's make it real. Let's take a trip to the grocery aisle and look at the brutal, hyper-competitive battle between the Canadian giant Loblaw and the international discounter Aldi. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. You've got two completely different ways to win. Loblaw's entire strategy is built around its unique VRIO resource, that PC Optimum data. They use it for everything from finance to personalized marketing. Aldi, on the other hand, their VRIO resource is this fanatical culture of extreme efficiency. But here's the crucial part, the trade-off. Aldi actively chooses not to be Loblaw, trading a huge selection for the absolute lowest price. And Loblaw trades low prices for data and convenience. They both win, not by being the best at everything, but by being different.
So let's bring this all together. After this journey from the classic tools all the way to modern competitive advantage, what are the core principles we can walk away with?
If you're going to remember anything, remember these four things. First, these tools, they're for asking better questions, not for finding easy answers. Second, real strategy is all about making tough trade-offs. You just can't be everything to everyone. Third, a lasting advantage is built on unique internal strengths that are really hard to copy. And finally, the best strategy is a learning strategy. In the end, your real advantage is just your ability to change.
And that leads to one final, really big question for the future. As AI gets better and better at doing a perfect analysis in seconds, what's the new critical skill for a leader? The advantage is going to shift away from just doing the analysis to acting on it, to synthesis, to judgment, and having the courage to seize and reconfigure faster than anyone else. And that is a skill that no algorithm can ever replace.